What is going on? We are live with the Sound Advice live stream and podcast. As always, I'm your host. Well, not always, because sometimes Nick hosts over on his channel, but I'm Justin, the DIY audio guy. And here with me is my partner in crime, the one and only Nick from Toys DIY. Nick, what's going on?
Hey, not much. What's going on, guys? I am super excited to be here. I hope that everyone had a great Thanksgiving and a wonderful holiday.
I had a wonderful holiday. We smoked some turkey, and that's always good.
Yeah, that is always good.
So,
Can
what do
you
you
hear me?
say we jump right
Yeah.
into it, Nick? So, today is Cyber Monday, and I thought I would start off the show by asking a few questions about Cyber Monday. The big question I got for you, Nick, this is the real question. What Cyber Monday or Black Friday deal did you actually pick up and spend your own money on?
So I actually spent my money on quite a few things, but probably the thing that would make the most sense to the viewers. Of course, I bought a lot of movies, right? Lot of movies because 4K movies. I'm a big fan. I get that and put it on there, but the one thing that I bought that some people might be interested in is actually one of the ones that I linked down in the description of the video. So for any of you guys that are watching and you want to get an idea of some of the things that we found for Black Friday deals, that's going to be there. And also, if you guys have any questions, I think we forgot to mention that, ask them and we'll make sure to get to those as well.
Right,
But
because we're still doing the Q&A. We're just going to talk about questions about deals first.
yeah, and we can talk deals the whole show if we need to, but this is what I bought. I bought this Denon AVR X3800.
Oh,
This
let me
is
put it in the
the,
show.
oh, sorry.
That right there, yeah.
Yeah, this is the Denon AVR. This is the one that also does Direct Live. Now, the cool thing is Direct Live actually went on sale for 30% off as well. So I actually bought Direct Live for it as well. That way on the channel, I can take a look at the room correction software. This one comes with Odyssey on it standard. And then I can also
Can you
test
zoom
out.
in on that image so we can get a better look at it?
Yeah. And I can also check out Direct Live and see what the difference is. And then also give you an idea of both, what we can measure difference wise, and then what we can also, what I can hear difference wise. So I think that'll be really interesting because a lot of people want to know, is Direct Live worth the upgrade? And honestly, I won't know until I test it. So I'm kind of excited about that. This, by the way, I have hooked this up. This thing is awesome. And
Excellent.
it has all kinds of pre-outs on it. So if you want to run better amplifiers, go right ahead. You can run
So it
all the
has like
amplifiers you
7
want.
channels of preamp output, so you can hook up all your big aftermarket amps.
It has 9.4
Oh, wow.
or 11, 11.4 or 9.4. I can't remember, but it's
You
got
got
the
a picture
top.
of the
So,
back?
there's no picture on the, oh, here's actually a picture on the
Yeah,
back.
there's
Let's see.
that's a lot of.
The front two, the surrounds, the surround backs, the heights backs. Okay, so what is that? That's 11. 11.4. So one
That's a lot. That's pretty cool. How much was that?
and a zone 2. So it's on sale for $1291.70, which is 24% off. It's usually $1,700. And so this was a really
Wow.
good deal on it. It's worth it though if you really care about, your sound quality. And we've talked about this in the past. You're just losing out on those pre-outs on almost anything you buy nowadays.
Right.
So, this does everything that I'm going to need it to do for a long time.
Let's see.
What
You
about,
just popped some links.
is
Can
that
we put
class A,
these?
B, or class D? I think it's class D. I mean, I'm assuming it's class D. I'm not planning to use the built-in amplifiers for very long on here. Although they do sound great. I have no problems with them. So
So a couple of things real quick. I did upgrade to the entry level version of the non-free StreamYard. So we have something cool going on. We have we have
oh
Facebook. We have Facebook now. So we are broadcasting to Facebook.
oh that's awesome.
Go ahead.
I just saw this. He said I totally seconds Nick's review of the K1 3D printer. It's a monitoring for Printa as of so far. That's Blake, who's our friend over there, and You know what? I was going to talk about that later. We actually just threw the links down in the chat. So anyone that wants to buy one, check it out. It's $200 off. It's normally 600%. That's 30% off. I couldn't be more happy with mine. Fantastic deal. Or you can go with the K1 Max. Go with the bigger print size.
All right, we got a question and a super chat. So you don't have to ask a super chat to get your question answered, but what tends to happen is these shows get going and there's a lot going on, and we're trying to keep an eye on the chat. And there's even more chat now because the Facebook is picking up some people. I saw at least 2 people join us from Facebook. So Miguel asked the question, why Boss over Atoto? So on Black Friday, I launched a video. It was kind of a buy this, not that theme. And that's an idea that I stole from the Car Wizard. You're going to watch the Car Wizard. He'll give these shows where he says, buy this instead of that. And I thought, why not give it a try? And I made a recommendation that I know, Nick, you're going to disagree with. And I said, skip over pretty much all of the generic Android based operating system head units that you get all over Amazon. And I said, you're better off actually buying something from a brand that's been around for a while, even going with Boss. And that is an opinion that I have. Sure. And I have just this weekend posted a behind the scenes video on Patreon just for my patrons that explains a little bit of the backstory of why I no longer endorse Atoto. And now when these companies email me asking me to review their head units, I either politely tell them no or ignore them. I've reviewed several of them, and if I never review another one on my channel, I'll be happy. If someone wants me to review one, it's going to have to be amazing. So I have reasons for not wanting to do it.
I think you can't lump them all in the same. Although I will say that my first Atoto I really, really liked. Since then, they sent me a couple other ones. I didn't. I got to be honest, they weren't as good as the first one. They just weren't. I did not like them nearly the same. So it's also possible that particular company just unfortunately just maybe took a nosedive. I have been really impressed with a company called Enon. I actually posted a link on there. I have a review for them. I'm just finishing it up. I was trying to get it out this week, but man, it got so hard with Thanksgiving going on. But this is pretty cool because this actually has HDMI on it.
Oh, wow.
I've never seen one with HDMI. I thought that was pretty neat.
Now, I will say this. When I said skip over the Atoto, that caused some serious controversy. I had some irate people in the comments, and that's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion about it. Someone pointed out that I made a huge mistake because the particular model that I said don't get had a, what was it? The optical out, the SP diff, the toss link out. It's like, well, I missed that. So anyway, I personally would not spend my own money on an Atoto at this point and prefer not to review these. Again, part of the reason why is I get overwhelmed by them. There's someone every month asking me to review one. And so I'm out. Viewers don't watch the views and videos, and I put a lot of work into them. And so I can't recommend them.
So Atoto's been hit or miss with me. Some have been really good. Some have not been. For Atoto, for whatever reason, I'm not as big of a fan when they are Android based. I'm usually a bigger fan when they're Linux based. At least from my personal experience so far. I will say this too, while we're talking about it. Jeff Schneider said hi. Howdy. Actually said howdy.
Hey, Jeff.
Howdy. And he also is like me and Blake and part of the K1 family, the Creality K1 family. And last time I talked to him about the K1, he loved it. So if that's changed at all, he'll have to tell us. But otherwise, you've got 3 endorsements. If you're looking for a 3D printer, and I'm serious about this, I'm only pushing this because it took me a really long time to find a good 3D printer. It really did. It took me a really long time. I found a couple that were like getting there, like almost there. I'm like, oh man, this is there. It's not until I got this K1 that I'm like, okay, this is there. If you want to start 3D printing, you can take this out box day one and get good prints out of, and fast. And that usually is not the case with 3D printers.
And that's a big deal. I've said this before on the show. I don't want to have to buy a 3D printer and then print parts on my 3D printer that
right.
help the 3D. I mean, I just don't want to have to go out and do a bunch of I don't know, hacks, extra DIY work. Putting the thing together is enough work. Learning how to get a print together is enough work. But if I got to print parts with the 3D printer that I just unboxed to make the 3D printer work, I'm out. That is just, I mean, oh, it's cool. You can print the parts you need to make it not suck. It should just not suck out of the box. It should just work.
It should be good out of the box. And that's the thing with the K1, because it does the resonance test where like whatever you put it on, it tests and makes sure, and it basically counteracts that, right? It creates internal software programming that counteracts whatever it's moving on so that it gets a really good print. And then it's got the fan blowing directly on the part all the time. It's just the way they made that was they were very, very smart. And funny enough, Blake just sent me a picture of his K1 working or going on. And he's been printing a lot of really cool stuff.
Well, if you want to take a minute to pull a picture, if you want to share the picture, I can fill in some dead air while you do that. Just let me know.
Well, why don't you tell us about what you bought? Because you said you bought something, right?
What I tend to do for Black Friday is I tend to stock up on the stuff that I know I'm going to burn through, consumables. And so I stocked up on wire. I got some Down for Sound wire because Down for Sound had everything Down for Sound brand, really just like cut to the bones. The JP8 is at its kind of low price. So, you know, there you go. That's so I stocked up on wire, and that's always a good thing to stock up on when things are on sale. And I'm trying to get out of the habit of just seeing things that are on sale and going, oh, it's on sale, I gotta buy it. Because I was this close to pulling the trigger on a CNC machine. And I thought, I don't have time to put it together. I don't have time to figure out how to use it. It's going to be a few months before I can worry about that. There's no point in dropping big money on a CNC machine because they knock $200 off the price.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, I will say, like, if it's something that you've been looking at and you want to buy, this is the time to get it. So here's what Blake's been doing. You see, he's been printing off a lot of stuff. He said he's been printing with ASA, and he said he's been printing 32 hours without a single failure. And that's what good. You want. I know and this is what I'm trying to tell people. Like, it was rare for me to go like 3 or 4 prints without a failure, right? So to go 32 hours without a single failure, it's amazing. And so if you are looking for a 3D printer, check the links. I don't know, did you add them in the description or did you just add them as a chat?
I put the links in the chat, so they're back up in the chat. I'll see if I can get them added to the description while you talk about your 3D printer there.
I don't have anything else really to say about the 3D printer.
Okay.
Oh,
there they are.
Just, well, I posted them back in the chat. Just
gotcha.
When you said that, but yeah, if you can put them in, just so people can click on them, because I know the chat, I don't think always allows you to click on them, but definitely.
So y'all,
huge fan.
Here's the behind the scenes thing that you might not know. I set up my streams so that Nick as a guest, they call it a team on StreamYard. So Nick can actually control things. So sometimes when you see DIY audio guy in the chat, that was Nick doing it, but Nick didn't set up where I could do that whenever we're streaming on his channel. So I'm not sure what he's trying to tell me.
I don't know how. I think Justin really did this because he always gets kicked off all the time. And he's like, well, Nick has to do something when I get kicked off.
Really, that's it. But my internet, when it tanks out. So, but no, so the big thing that I stocked up on was wire. I try to focus on consumables. I try to get out of the, oh, it's on sale, I have to buy it mentality, which is always tempting, always tempting. So here's the other big question for you, Nick. So the first question was, what did you spend your money on for Black Friday? And the other thing is, what's like that one thing that you found that was like, wow, that thing is a heavy discount, people should jump on it, that you're like, this is the time to buy it because it's so cheap?
Well, one is this 3D printer, which we talked about, and the Max, because Blake just said, hey, I would have gotten the Bamboo. Bamboo offers another 3D printer, which is really close, very similar to this, although you can do multicolor. But by the time you spend all that money, I would rather have the K1 Max, because K1 Max has a significantly bigger print volume area. And for me, printing, especially printing speakers, printing bigger is better for me. So I'd rather have that than the multicolors. I do like the Bamboo Labs as well. Another thing that I really do think people should purchase if they're in the need for it, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this screen up and share it with you. is this.
Yeah.
This is not audio related. I'm going to mention this right now, but a projector.
Oh,
If you're
okay.
looking for a projector, and I'm going to show you the two that I really, really like the most for budget. Like if you're like, I don't really know that I want to spend much money. And of course it opened up in another screen. So I got to open up a different screen. Darn you, XG. So this Mogo 2, for example, is originally $400. I reviewed this on here. In the $250 price point, there's nothing, and I mean nothing, that can compare to it with color accuracy and color gamut, which means the amount of colors that it does. It is so vibrant of a picture. It does significantly more colors than anything else. It does 90% DCI P3. That's about 50% more than all the other budget projectors that I've tested in this price range, and more. Like I've tested some at $500 that can't do nearly the amount of colors. And that's what makes the picture so much more vibrant. So if you're looking for like a portable kind of projector, or even a projector that you just want to hook up to play games on every once in a while or something, like this is a great value right now at $250. Now, the only downside of this, and I want to mention this because I don't want you to be led astray, is that it is only 720p, which is kind of an older standard. I get that. But actually, both of us are being broadcast in 720p right now. I don't think we look that bad.
If you've noticed that my camera's been grainy before this, I only figured out today that there's a setting to crank it up to 720p. I've been bummed out by the video quality. It's like, oh, I had the wrong button pushed. So that is the thing. You're like, hey, that's super cheap. That's the thing to go for Black Friday if you're looking for a deal.
If you have been looking for a projector and you've been wanting to spend under $300, do it. If you've been wanting to spend $500, then go the step up. Of course, once again, for crying out loud, XG, stop opening up new windows. I hate when you do that. How am I supposed to do this show and you open up a new window? Okay. It's the Mogo 2 Pro. It's not a crazy deal. It's regularly $600. It's now $510. But this, once again, has the exact same color as the other one. Very bright and vibrant. The only difference is this is 1080p versus 720p. So if you're like, I really need a 1080p projector, then go with the Mogo 2 Pro. But either of those would be the best under $500 projectors that I know of right now.
Awesome.
So, what about you?
So the one thing that I think is really the real deal that I stumbled across, let's see, share the screen. Here we go. It's these puppies right here. This is the Infinity Reference, the 6x9 component sets. It's hard to find a 6x9 component set. They're normally $280. They've knocked off $140. They've cut the price in half. And you're going to see similar discounts over on Crutchfield for several different things. They've got a discount on Infinity. They've got a, let's see, and that's the Infinity. And the Kenwood Exelon, the big, I've seen them install this down at 5-star. These are the ones with it's the Exelon series, and it's this big, massive 7-inch cone. And so they've got this one $50 off. And I think those are probably the best deals that I've found. And to circle back around the earlier conversation, one reason why I would say avoid the stuff on Amazon is if you buy it from Crutchfield's going to throw in the mounting brackets, right? All the stuff you need to actually get it hooked up, they're going to have it. And, I can make those myself. I've got a router. I can fabricate them. But, boy, it's easier when they just show up with the packaging along with the instructions to get your car apart.
That's true. That's a good point. After Thanksgiving, I got a big NAS.
You got a what?
A big NAS.
A big NAS.
Black Friday. Yeah, Black Friday. Network attached storage.
I thought Little NAS was the artist that had this song about the horse on the road.
No, I got a Synology NAS, and it has 3 16 terabyte drives in it. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it's running a RAID configuration, so it's only about 30 terabytes total.
I'm over here excited about my 20 terabyte Western Digital USB plug-in in the back of the computer one. So you've got it all on the network, and that's so you can do that streaming you do inside your house, right?
Well, it's for a couple things. One, it does help me, especially when I'm testing like projectors and audio equipment, being able to stream my video and audio to all my equipment to test different speakers in different locations. And that's really important for me. But yeah, it is mainly for that, although I'm sure that I'll be storing some of my YouTube footage and plans and things of that nature too, where I want to make sure that I have good backups of it. So that will also be being used for that. And that once again went on sale, so I went ahead and picked that up. But I just I think that protecting your data with stuff that we do is important.
I agree. I need to move in that direction. So maybe I should have been looking for some Raid NAS stuff for Black Friday. Maybe that's next year.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Brian brought this up, and you shop this site more than I do. Bryant Olson said, Crutchfield is so ridiculously expensive. The sale hardly matters, just puts the price where it should have been. Do you find that to be accurate or no?
Okay, so when you consider the brands that Crutchfield stocks and what you could get those brands for elsewhere, I would say mostly no. I don't recommend buying amplifiers from Crutchfield because watt per dollar, there's some other brands somewhere else you can get for less. And nothing wrong with the brands they sell, Rockford Fosgate, Alpine, et cetera, et cetera. But the Stinger amp that I tested on my channel, the Down for Sound amps, there's tons of other amplifiers that are available elsewhere that give you more bang for the buck. But if you're looking at head units, you're going to pay the same thing for a head unit, a Sony or a Kenwood or an Alpine. If you get it from Crutchfield or Sonic Electronics, they're priced the same. So it's kind of like, so in some areas, I think Bryant's correct. I wouldn't buy a wire kit from Crutchfield. Their wire kits are overpriced. They have the name brand wire kits that are really crazy expensive. And I showed that in the Black Friday video. Kicker sells an 8-gauge wire kit on Crutchfield for like $140 for an 8-gauge amp wire kit. And it's like, come on, Kicker. And it's not that it's a bad product. It's just, that's a lot of money for an 8-gauge amp wire kit when you can buy a Boss one on Amazon for 20. Don't buy either. Go get the Down for Sound wire kit.
So someone once said, you don't pay for the job, you pay for the experience. Mm-hmm. And here's the simple truth behind Crutchfield. Maybe some things are more expensive at Crutchfield. I wouldn't doubt that. I find that pretty much everywhere. Even at certain grocery stores, you can find certain things more expensive than other places. That's just how the life works. But Crutchfield will be there when you run into an issue. And unfortunately, changing out a lot of car audio equipment nowadays is not as easy as it once was. It just isn't. I had someone say to me the other day that the Nifty City was too expensive because it was $700 to put in their car. But this is a plug and play system that you can plug up and you keep all of your factory settings, your steering wheel control, everything that was working in your factory will still work like it did when you got it. And that's just not the case when you go buy a new car stereo. And someone said, I can buy a new car stereo for half the money. And that's probably true. You could probably buy a car stereo for $350. But then what other components do you need now to set that up? Unfortunately, nowadays, we've talked about this before, you need different kits that go into that. And some of those can be $200, $300, $400 on top of that to make steering wheel controls work, make sure that your air conditioning still works after you put this in, all these different things. And then you have to pay someone to install it most of the time because install is not very easy and straightforward. So by the time you get done with it, a lot of car stereos on newer vehicles can easily run you over $1,000. So I get back to that because Crutchfield, when you go to buy this car stereo, is going to ask you to put in your vehicle, and then they're going to tell you, based on their experience, what you actually need to complete the project. And they're going to tell you. And if you're concerned about it, you can call them up and they can explain it to you. So for me, the reason why you shop Crutchfield is so that you only have to buy what you buy once.
Right. So with Crutchfield, they will, I remember back in the day when the install equipment was a lot cheaper and the wire harness and the amp kit and whatnot would be, not the amp kit, the wire harness and the dash kit were free. And then all this stuff got more expensive and complicated. And now you're paying for them, but still Crutchfield will just tell you exactly what you need to fit your car. It'll throw in the speaker brackets. It'll throw in the pigtails so you can just plug in the speakers into your factory speaker harnesses. So all of that, once you factor that in, I don't think Crutchfield's that much more expensive. But that's, my take on it. What do I buy from Crutchfield? I buy the head units and things that are going to go into doors. Everything else, I'm going to buy somewhere else.
Yeah, and so let's turn my mic up, so I will. Crutchfield is more of an experience in a store, phone support and instructions. And then Blake said the same thing. Crutchfield is generally a little bit more expensive than Amazon, but all the services Crutchfield provides, I'll gladly pay extra. And then Ambivalent One also said, I don't want to have an engineering degree to install a deck.
I like how Ambivalent One changes his screen name every week. We know who it is, of course.
We do.
Yeah. But sorry, I missed your call today, man. I was busy in the middle of something. So
there is a lot of truth to that. And I completely agree with what everyone is saying here. There are definitely stores where you pay more, but the question is it worth what you're paying more? And I think it is.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, you shop around, you look for deals, you look for discounts, you find the best price on things. And I've always been one who's attempted to squeeze by on as small a budget as possible. And even I, trying to be as cheap as possible, I'm going to buy some things from Crutchfield. And right. Again, if you're not happy with the price, don't buy it.
Yeah, obviously, if you're looking for a specific set of speakers, you already know what you want, and you're just shopping price, then that's different than what we're talking about.
Right.
Did you want to say something about this?
No, I just wanted to show it because I missed it earlier. So I just want to make sure I got it on the screen. That's supposed to be a really good component set. All right. Have we gotten any questions in the chat that we need to go over?
There's been a bunch that we haven't really talked about. Like this one is really important.
No, my socks do not match my sweater.
You
sorry.
could have said yes. No one would know. No one would know.
I'm sorry. I try to be honest. I mean, I limit the number of lies I tell in
socks.
I limit the number of lies I tell in a live stream to just one. So you have to now. The question now becomes, what did I lie about already?
All right, and then the other question that we got as well is, what are your guys' thoughts on an Alpine sound system? My SUV's default system sounds so good, and it's an Alpine system. What are your thoughts? Well, first of all, I want to know what SUV we're talking about and what year, because that makes a difference in what we're talking about. But as far as an overarching, just what do you think of Alpine? What do you think of Alpine?
I love Alpine. Alpine's been making good stuff for a long time. And I remember back when Alpine was like, if you had Alpine, you were a rock star. You were, I think, a baller is the word that people use. I agree with Sean Lynn's comment that an aftermarket Alpine system would be better than an OEM one. And the problem with all the OEM systems is they're just OEM they're just the name brand in name brand alone. I learned this listening to the Kicker live show. Brands will come out to Kicker and say, hey, we want to put your logo on our speaker and put these crappy on our grill and put these crappy speakers behind the grill. And Crutchfield's like, or Kicker's like, no, thanks. I'm not going to do that. And so it's kind of hit or miss. I know that my Dodge truck, an Alpine system was available in it, and all it did was make the system complicated. It didn't really help the sound all that much. And sometimes the stock subs are kind of weak. But here's the thing. If you like how it sounds, then it's not wrong.
Here's an interesting thing. I recently my car got hit, rear-ended. While I was in the shopping, I was shopping at the grocery store. We came back out, and my wife looks at the car and goes, there's our car right there. And I said, no, that's not our car. That car's got a huge dent in it. And it was our car. Someone hit it and then ran. Didn't leave a note. Didn't do anything. Of course, we got stuck with this, our insurance stuff that we had to take care of because, someone's not responsible enough to take ownership for what they did. And they did a lot of damage. I mean, it was over $6,000 worth of damage. I think it was closer to $7,000 or $8,000 worth of damage. It was bad. Anyway, I say that because when we got the rental car, it was using a Bang & Olufsen system, and it sounded awful. I mean, just awful. One of the worst systems I'd heard.
Was it a Ford?
It was a Ford, yeah.
It was?
It was a Ford. But it was going through Apple CarPlay, so maybe there was something going on with the Apple CarPlay and the Bang & Olufsen sound system, but it did not sound good. Having said that, I have a Lincoln that THX actually came out and they did all these tests and tuned that thing like crazy. They tuned it with the windows up, with the windows down. They tuned it with like road noise, and they did everything that they were supposed to do. And that sounds unbelievable. Like so much better, like the best stock system I've ever heard in a car. And so I absolutely loved that. I like Alpine. I don't think there's anything wrong with Alpine. I think they're great. Isn't it our friend over there, Rawcat? Isn't he doing a whole build with Alpine right now?
Yeah, yeah, he had a dealer somewhere send him a whole setup, and he's been doing a series of videos on it.
And he's been telling you what he thinks about the Alpine stuff. So if you want to check him out, check out Rawcat. It's RAWCAT. It's like supposed
And
to be
it wasn't
Rocket,
all
but
glowing
Rawcat.
reviews. Some of
No,
it he
they
said,
weren't.
"Hey, this could be better," right?
They did, yes.
If you're getting good response at 32 hertz from a stock
32
radio, I'm impressed. And that was in a Jeep.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I'm not the only person that thinks this. B&O stinks in the Fords. They really are. They're terrible. I don't know what the deal was with that.
That's what I've heard. I've not listened to one personally, so I'll try to see if I can rent one or something like that sometime so I can listen to it.
I think didn't Ford get rid of the sync system? Blake had said that he
I
doesn't
feel like they
them because
did.
of sync. I believe they did. Yeah, they're all wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay now. Because we were looking at maybe picking up a Ford, but we ended up going with the Nissan Pathfinder.
I picked up a kicker thin radiator like you reviewed for the convertible Mustang. It'll shake your guts. I'm really happy. Thanks for the suggestion last stream. Glad to hear that you're having a good experience with the product. Recommending products is tricky because, I might try it and like it, but it doesn't mean someone else will. So I'm glad that recommendation worked out. The kicker has been building passive radiator enclosures literally my entire lifetime. And if anyone knows how to do it, it's going to be them.
And guys, by the way, if anything we talk about on the stream, or if you just want to look at the stuff, we'll always put stuff in the description of the video. Take a look at them. If there's something that interests you, make sure to buy it from those links. They are affiliate links, but they do go, some of the money goes back towards us. And more importantly, it lets people know, like the companies that have supplied those things to us, that you guys are getting use out of it, that you guys are enjoying the products that we're putting on, showing, etc. So that allows us to be able to get more products in to be able to show you guys as well, which is nice.
And that's the thing. I like to double down on products where I'm getting positive feedback. So if I'm getting a ton of positive feedback, then that's, again, one reason why I'm not too keen on reviewing anymore those Android head units from Amazon is I get less positive feedback from those than I get from other products. So
it's weird because when you find one that's good, then it's good. So the Enon that I talked about earlier, it's EONON. I put a link down in the description. I've had one in my Lincoln now for, I don't know, over a year now, I think. I'd have to look to see when I put the video out. Whenever I put the video out, it's been in there. Zero issues with it. It's worked flawlessly. I can watch Netflix on it. I can, do all my Bluetooth to the head unit so I could read all my information on the machine. I get error codes, all that stuff right on the head unit. It's fantastic. I love that thing. And I would recommend that to anyone because I've had no issues with it. But I think, to your point, sometimes finding that one is hard. There's a sea of these Android head units all over the place, and it's which one is actually worth spending your money on. And we've talked about this before. Part of the issue with us is we have a very limited time with a product, and so we can't always speak to longevity. And really no one can because the product's been out for like a couple weeks by the time we get it, maybe a month or two. So no one's going to be able to tell you it's going to last for a year or two. And that's the reason why I started really liking these Enons, because I know I have one in my car. It's been going for over a year now, and I love it. And I have no problem telling someone to go pick one up. They're worth it, and they're so cheap for being An Android head, they're so cheap. All right, go ahead.
There's a brand that I've heard people talk about, Joying, that apparently is pretty good. Huge screens and digital outputs. So I don't know. I'll try one, I guess, maybe, but probably not. This is a question that's really technical from Jermaine Crutchfield. I'm assuming no relation to Bill Crutchfield, the guy who created Crutchfield. This is the question we might need a little bit of help in the chat, because we've got some people in the chat with some technical expertise that might help us out, because I don't think I know the answer to this. It's a motor force question. If wiring voice coils in series raises BL, that's B times L, it's the BL product, would wiring 4 dual 2 ohm subs at 1 ohm lose any BL by wiring each pair in parallel? Blake, ambivalent one. Help me out here.
Jermaine Crutchfield. I wish I was related to Bill Crutchfield. Trust me. It's not going to affect your motor force at all, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
Because you got to remember, your motor force is related to your impedance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when your BL changes, so does your impedance in this particular case. It's going to be the same. So it doesn't affect that at all. When he's saying motor force, I'm assuming he means the strength of the motor, which is BL squared divided by RE.
Okay, yeah.
So, but it's not going to actually affect the motor. And that's where like a lot of people get confused, because they think, hey, if I get a really high BL, my motor is going to be stronger. But what they're looking at is a 16 ohm speaker with a really high BL. Well, guess what? If you look at that same BL with a 4 ohm, guess which one has a stronger motor? The one with the 4 ohm BL.
Okay. I'm reading the comments here. The total formula is F equals A times, it keeps moving. There we go. As you wire down, the BL decreased, but the amperage go up, so the force per watt stays the same. So that leads me to believe that it doesn't actually make a difference.
Right. It's the same thing. Depending on whether you're talking about motor strength or which, I guess he's talking about motor force. So motor force is still the same basic concept, though. It hasn't changed. And I think this is a really good thing to talk about, because a lot of people focus on that BL thinking that means motor strength or motor force. That by itself doesn't mean anything. You need to take into account the impedance of the system, or in this particular case, the amperage of the system, which is going to change with your impedance. So it's going to stay the same. It is definitely a good question, because I think you need to pay attention to, a lot of people try to look at one particular TS parameter, and that's just not what you need to do.
Right. They interact with each other. There's not one TS parameter that's going to give you some magic story. So decreases, but not observable audibly. That sounds good. Lots of good information in the chat. So hopefully the chat was able to fill us in here.
So here it is.
Okay.
So if you want to, BL is calculated by multiplying the strength of the magnetic field in the voice coil gap by the length of the voice coil that's active in the magnetic field. Now,
right, the L stands for length.
Right. So if you want to find out the strength of the motor, which is what most people really want to know when they look at BL, is what's the strength of the motor, you take BL and you square it, and then you divide that by RE.
And that would be the DC resistance.
Yeah, and that's really important as well, because if you do BL squared divided by RE, then what you're going to get, if you get that, whatever has the highest number. So you could take this with every 4-inch driver on the market, every 12-inch. Say you want to look at every 12-inch subwoofer, and you want to do a Linkwitz transform on it, which allows you to really extend your low-end bass, right? So let's just say you wanted to do that. What you're going to want to do first is take a look to see which one has the strongest motor that you can really push. And so you're going to take all of them, and you're going to take BL squared, divide it by RE, and then you're going to figure out which one has the strongest motor strength. And then when you figure out which one has the strongest motor strength, then you know that, hey, that's the one I can DSP the most likely.
Okay, cool. We've attacked a complicated technical question. Now, as far as the BL squared over RE, one thing to point out that RE, that DC resistance, that's going to change series versus parallel. So
Right.
the number on the bottom of the fraction changes. So it's gonna kind of cancel things out. So
Exactly. Thank you, Miguel Gyron, for the super chat. We love super chats.
excellent. Another super chat. Thank you very much. A super chat and a question. So I want to run 3 10-inch subs at 0.5, so a half an ohm. If I run 2 dual 4 and 1 dual 2, what would I be at, or what would be a better configuration? It's on a Salt 3.
Three
Those Salt
10-inch
amplifiers, I'm told, are amazing. So 10-inch subs. Well, first of all, the problem is, and I really just need to make a video on this and do some testing with my test gear and just kind of show this and do the math. I do not recommend mixing subs in this way. I think that's not going to end well for you. What's going to end up happening, and I can't do the math on the fly right now. Maybe Nick can do the math on the fly, but either the 2 dual 4s or the 1 dual 2, something's going to happen so that one of those subwoofers is going to be picking up more than its fair share of power. It's going to be sucking down more than its fair share of power, and that sub's going to heat up and burn out. And the other ones probably will not. But mixing them together and mixing the ohms together like that is probably a bad strategy. And again, I can't do the math on the fly, so I can't tell you the best way to wire those on the fly. If anyone out there can do the math on the fly, they're doing math faster than I am, because I have to talk and do math at the same time on the stream.
if you're doing 3 of them, you have to do them in parallel, right? I mean, there's
right.
You would have to run them all in parallel, because you can't do parallel series, or I mean, you could do series, but that would be weird, because you do 3-4 ohm in series. You're at 12 ohms? No one wants that.
Right.
So you would do 3. You'd have to run them all 3 in parallel. And I don't know what your impedance of the subwoofers are. So that would be complicating things. Typically, though, it's better to run them in pairs or 4s. Even numbers, basically.
Right.
Pairs and 4s are usually the best, because you can get your impedance down to pretty much what you want to for that an amplifier likes. You can usually get it down to 1 ohm, usually get it down to 2 ohm, 4 ohm, 8 ohm. You can get it to one of those normal impedances. So typically we would recommend doing one of those. But if you are going to run them 3 at a time, and you only have these 3 for whatever reason, that's what you have to do, then you have to run them parallel. And Blake said 3 D4s would be 0.67 ohms.
Yes, thank you, Blake, for saving the day and doing the math for us. But we can't answer the question, Blake will. So there we go. Maybe we should have him on the show more often. And that would probably be the best bet.
And this is another thing, too. If you're running it off the same amplifier, because Ambivalent one says, the other one could be a dual voice coil, and that's true, but you don't want to really mix and match the drivers when you're doing it like this. You really want to keep 3 of the same.
Not pure parallel, but 2 parallel circuits. Again, I'd have to sit down and draw it out and math it out. So I'm having trouble doing that on the fly. So that's the problem with answering questions on the fly. Sometimes you're not prepared to do the math. But no, I wouldn't recommend mixing woofers of different ohms, because it just leads to complications. Not the best idea, but a lot of people try to do it because it's what they have on hand, but maybe don't. Not recommended.
I don't know. I don't mind you doing it if you do 3, if they're exactly the same, and doing them all in parallel. I'm fine with it, but he's thinking parallel for 2, then those two in parallel going parallel with the other.
Okay.
Zarbo's here. Hey, Zarbo, man, good to see you. We have not talked to Zarbo in a while.
So
I
something
was
related to the 3 subwoofer thing, back in the day, JL was running subwoofers that were single 3 ohm voice coils and designed to be run in parallel. So you can get like a 1 ohm load on the amp. They did that for a little while. That was kind of one of their things from back in the 90s, et cetera, et cetera. And Basaholics got the idea, just recone the third sub. um, if you want to go down the recone route, why not? But you definitely would be better off not mixing dual 2 ohm versus dual 4 ohms. I wouldn't recommend that.
no, I wouldn't. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
So I want to ask you: was there anything else that you saw on Black Friday that you were like, "Man, I wish I would have got," or "I wish someone would know about this"?
Nothing else really that I just had to tell the whole world about. Several good deals out there, but no deals I just had to scream from the rooftops. No.
All right, I want to share one then. Well,
All right, go ahead.
because
And I saw a
this
comment
is
while you're pulling up on the screen. I'll look for that comment.
so our friend DIY Hi-Fi, which is HYFY, built these. These are the Hi-Fi Swans 3-way. This is a 3.1 kit. You built the 2.1 kit, right?
Right, that's the one that I completely screwed up every time I tried it. And I have several videos with egg on my face where it's all like, I made this and I messed it up.
So they sent me this and they said, would you like to build it? And I'm like, sure. Now I received it. I didn't buy this. They sent it to me. It's $280. I only have 2 left in stock. But here's what I'm going to do on the channel. I'm going to build this. And after I get done building this, I am going to test the crossover and see what I think of it. See if I like it or not. If I don't like it, then I'm going to redo the crossover for it. And I'm going to create another crossover for this particular speaker. So I know DIY Hi-Fi was really excited about the prospect of me designing a new crossover for it. I don't know if I will. Once again, if I get it and I like the crossover, then I'm going to keep it. Interestingly enough, I was going to do this a little bit differently because I have all the tools to do some cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I'm going to now because this is actually a pretty nice flat pack.
Yeah, the 5-pack's great. And it's heavy as all get out.
Yeah, I may not.
Isn't it?
Well, and if
It
I
is.
and I've been thinking about this too. If I'm going to redesign the crossover, some of the things I do to it might have a minimal effect on it. But you know what I could do? I want to get your guys' opinions on here. Maybe what I could do is take the, I'll probably paint mine versus, this cheesy stuff that they put in there. But what if I just took and CNC'd a little design on the sides or something?
A little Toys DIY logo etched into the side.
Or Hi-Fi or something, or
Yeah.
like a cool, I could do the, what is that? The honeycomb pattern with like Hi-Fi down, kind of like I did with the other one. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, you should put my logo on there.
I'll pass. Why yours? But yeah, so if any of you guys have been interested in that, I am going to build one, and it is on Cyber Monday deal if you have been interested. It's about $280 now. It's usually $350. That's I have not heard it, but the speakers that are in it are good drivers, so I can't imagine anything bad about the driver selection. And $280 for a pair of 3-ways is cheap.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. And my experience with the Hi-Fi kits is you can't buy the parts for less than the kit.
No.
Like
And
the
especially
one, the one I assembled, I priced out the parts, and the parts, not counting the knockdown cabinet and all the other stuff with it, just the woofers and the tweeters were more expensive than the kit.
You know what sucked too? I was really excited about it. I was like, oh, by the way, I just saw AJC was in here along with TVOR. It's good to see both of them. I have not seen AJC in a while, so it's good to see him back. The thing that I would say about the Hi-Fi kit as well is you don't have to do any of the cutting and everything. It's already done for you.
Ready to go.
A lot of people have complained about not being able to do some things because of flat packs and things of that nature, this is all there. So I like it. That thing is heavy. I got that kit. I didn't want to pick it up. I like slid it on the ground to where it's
Yeah.
sitting. I'm like, I want to pick it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna blow my back out just picking this thing up. Oh, and High Five Vega's with us. What?
Oh, cool. I pop into his shows on a regular basis and don't say much usually. I'm just kind of there hanging out in the background. So good to see.
wait.
Good to see High Five Vega.
Wait. No, I don't know High Five Vega. I'm sorry. It's a different person.
All right. So this is a question that we may need
Never
help
around
with
anymore.
the chat as well. And I'm interested in the answer to this question because I've been trying to increase my presence on TikTok just because I want to see if I can get things to go on TikTok just as like a personal challenge. And there aren't that many options for affiliate sales through TikTok through the normal channels, but there is a vendor that is selling Harmony Audio through the TikTok shop. And I'm looking at it going, do I want to bother with Harmony Audio? Because I don't know anything about them. I know they make some pro audio stuff. So Bryant Olson is asking if anyone has used the Harmony Audio 15-inch subwoofer. Got a brand new one in the box. It looks mean. Has a 306-ounce magnet. That does sound pretty darn mean. I have no experience with them, but if anyone has feedback on them, I'd love to hear it because I'm kind of curious on, are they any good or not?
Which is it? The ML series? Yeah.
HAML 151.
I
know a couple of years ago, Parker did a review of a dual 12 box of a Harmony, and one of the speakers was already crunchy out of the box. So, oh, wow, that does look. Whoop.
Oh, is it on there again? Yeah. So they say, yeah, it's interesting. See, the thing that, and actually, usually, there's a couple issues with a dual voice coil subwoofer when you're looking at these steel small parameters. And the fact that they don't tell you how they wired it.
Oh,
my guess is that they wired this down to 0.5 ohm, this one to a 1 ohm to get the sensitivity, because that makes a difference depending on how they're measuring their sensitivity. That could make a difference depending on how they measure it. Could give them up to 3 decibel boost, because typically these big magnets like these are very, very low sensitivity.
Right.
Which factors out okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because it's low sensitivity, but it handles, how much power does it handle? I bet a lot.
It says 3,200 watts peak and 1,600 watts RMS. But 1,600 watts RMS really isn't much more than the Ultimax, is it?
The Ultimax is 1,000.
The 15-inch?
Oh, no, the 15-inch is like 800.
Oh, really? Is that it?
I mean, don't quote me on it. I could be wrong. I've been known to make mistakes in the past. So
no, you could be. I know the MX-15 is 800. I thought the Ultimax was more.
Yeah, maybe I'm completely wrong. I was thinking the Ultimax 18 was 1,000 watt RMS.
No, you're probably right. I mean, I don't know.
So I don't have any experience with the brand, and I would love to hear some people give their opinions of it, because I don't like endorsing brands that I don't trust or have some belief that it's going to be any good.
Hey, you're
got
right.
A question.
800 watts. Man, you are on top of things today. That was great.
I've mine like a steel trap. Nothing, once it goes in, nothing comes out. Our good friend Adrian Bauer. Adrian, I do believe that you may have sent me a question on TikTok. I think TikTok. Aren't you the guy with the Fiat with all the subs in the Fiat? Aren't you Loud Fiat? It's the same guy. Anyways, if I sent you a lithium bank, could you review it for a video? Need that juice. I would be willing to do that, but I am very leery about borrowing and accepting equipment from people in order to test and then return. When I kind of first started doing this, I had a few conversations and overheard a few conversations that Big D Derek had, where he had taken some equipment in and things went sideways. And I would rather buy it for myself and lose money than to borrow it from somebody else and things go sideways and then we're not friends anymore. So I mean, so that's kind of how I feel about it. I would much rather just take the risk myself. So if you've got some advice on what to get, I'll start saving up and maybe find someone to sponsor a video and then go for it that route. But as far as just taking one from somebody, I got to be careful because I don't want to make anyone mad. I try not to make enemies.
especially something like a lithium battery too. There's so much that can go wrong with that.
So much that can go wrong. Batteries kind of freak me out a little bit. I'm not going to mention
lie. They're kind of a pain to ship too.
Yeah.
You know, if you're shipping it appropriately. Living Loud with Andy. End of review. Well, folks, it blew up. Whoops.
Hey, our good friend Bass Dad is here hanging out as well. Bass Dad's going live all the time. I can't keep up with his live shows, so
it's true.
We got a whole.
And I like what he said. He said you can send it to him, but he keeps everything. So I don't think it's a good idea unless you don't want it back. That is the other issue with building those big battery banks is it's expensive.
Yeah, it is. It is. And my plan is to take my headway bank and move it to the vehicle. The thing I like about the headway bank is you don't need to crank that voltage up constantly to keep that bank charged up. So it's going to eventually go into the vehicle. And I'm looking for something else for the test bench because as I've shown in my videos, my test bench doesn't have enough juice to get the job done. So, all right, here's a fun question for you, Nick. If money is no object, what are you choosing for your vehicle? And I'm going to kick the question to the next level. What are you going to choose for your home if money's no object?
That's better because I was like, vehicle's hard because I don't really keep up with it. So for my home is pretty easy. I'd pick a Buckeye amp. Buckeye amps are the best value amplifier out there right now. I would definitely go with that. And I would go probably with a couple of them, but I'd go with at least one of their 8-channel and probably the Purify models at that point in time. But I would be happy with the 500 watt modules as well. I'd be fine with those. So the HypeX 500 watts. Actually, I'm going to buy some from Dylan from there. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen right now. It might happen the beginning of next year, but I'm going to buy some from him, probably 2 500 watts and 2 250 watts for a total of 8 channels because each one does 2 channels. So that's probably what I'll buy, and that'll be in my home theater. What about you, Justin?
See, if money's no object, I can stop looking at brand names and just look at the specs, which is what I would do. I wouldn't, what's cheap, right? How can I get the most bang for my buck? I would just get the best, right? So speakers in the car, I'd probably give some Karma Audio a look. I might look at Audio Frog, but I'd probably buy Morel for car speakers. And as far as an amplifier goes,
you didn't say anything about Focal.
Focal makes nice, expensive stuff, but I would buy Morel instead.
I can respect that.
And same for home. I'd buy Morel parts to build speakers with is that's the direction I would go in. And as far as like an amplifier goes, if money's no object, the thing about an amp, as long as an amplifier is functioning properly and kind of meets minimum build quality, they're going to all sound pretty close to the same. I've said that before, and that gets controversial. But again, Morel makes amps. I might buy them. I don't know if I'd go for something like a Moscone or not. But what I would do is I would do a bunch of A/B tests and blind listening and just pick the one that sounds best. And, a lot of my amp choices, I choose them because they provide good bang for the buck, as opposed to there being the best sound quality. But I have that freedom to just do that. So,
but then again,
I'd just pay someone to do all the installation too. If
yeah,
I'm audio control for both home audio and car audio, I would go audio control probably.
Adrian Bauer with another super chat. Thanks again.
Oh.
He said, "Hey, it's for you to keep, Justin. It's for publicity for my business. I'm the guy with the Cadillac SRX with 1210s for your information."
Cadillac Lac SRX with 1210s.
Cadillac Lac. Yeah, I think he just meant Cadillac though.
Cadillac Alaca. Okay,
Cadillac
cool.
Alaca.
Well, then we might touch base offline at some point and just see what we can work out then. So
that sounds good. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. I don't need any. Wait, no,
Cadillac with 12 tens. That's a lot of tens. Is that what's in your profile picture? I can see just some outline of a
yeah, we
lot
can
of
see the
stuff.
tens on there, and it looks like I can't read that small.
Adrian, go ahead and tell us what your business is. Go ahead and just promote
Yeah,
away and let us know what
promote
you
now.
do.
And we'll
Like
actually
Will
promote Will
Savard is here.
Savard. Yeah,
I don't
Will
know if you've
actually.
heard of Will Savard, but he works for this company called Savard Speaker Systems, and I don't know, they like back in the day they made a bunch of subs and cool speakers, and then they're back making the same cool stuff. So good to see you hanging out in the chat with us, Will.
So Will and I started talking actually before you and Will. We were a thing before you. Me and Will were a thing. Yeah. And then we talked about like doing something on the channel, but we never did it. And then you come along, talk to him for like 2 minutes, and like, I'm gonna get all the, and then you got all these awesome Savard speakers, and now you're gonna be showing them off, and it's really cool. I can't wait to see them. You have not done any videos, build videos on those yet, right?
I haven't had a chance to yet. I'm hoping to do so. When Will was sending these out to me, I let him know I was having knee problems, and I'm at a point where I can move around now. When he first sent them, it hurt to move. So hopefully, I'll be feeling good enough to get some plywood this weekend and start a build. Now, one thing, Will, I just want to let you know.
By knee problems, what Justin really means is he doesn't need to build anything right now.
No, I'm going to need surgery apparently. So it is what it is. Hopefully I can push it off as far as possible. But guys, I'm going to it's true confession time, and Will's watching in on Facebook. So I'll tell everybody along with Will, when I was unboxing the 6.5 wraps, I was just checking them out, having a good time unboxing them. And I dropped one, and it hit the concrete hard. And what I need to do is grab the DATs and do one of those bump and rub tests and make sure it's good. It just seems like the magnet scratched up. The frame didn't dent. Everything feels like it didn't bend the frame. It landed on the magnet, so it's scratched up and looks ugly. But it appears to have handled like a 4-foot drop onto concrete, no problem. It doesn't appear to be damaged. There's no crunching or anything. Everything seems lined up correctly, so I think it survived. But I had this moment like, oh no, let's drop this beautiful subwoofer.
Is that cast? Is it a cast frame? Do you know?
I do believe for the wrap it is a stamped frame, and they're so beefy. I mean, these little 8s, these little 6.5s and 8s. The only experience I had with small drivers like that was like the Team Bang W6, and it's in an entirely different class. So, so we'll find out when I get to testing it how durable they are, if they can handle those drops.
When you said stress test, I didn't realize Will Savard. Yeah. Oh yeah. You should see. Oh, what? Stop! we keep clicking on it together, and so it keeps going away immediately. When you said stress test, I didn't realize, and there should be ... You should see. You should hear him off air. What else he does to him? Whew, you would be surprised.
Nothing compared to what FedEx tried to do, because the boxes came from FedEx and they were completely destroyed. But fortunately, they're packed well inside. The 12-inch wrap actually has this great styrofoam kind of container around the subwoofer inside the box. And that box had taken a ton of abuse from FedEx, but the sub was just fine.
Yeah.
So nothing else Savard knows how to package a sub correctly. And that's a good enough reason to buy from Savard right there.
Agreed. I will say this. I'm from kind of like the FedEx area of the world, and I always get worried when something comes FedEx to me. I'm like, oh man, am I going to receive it? Am I going to receive it on time? And is it going to be damaged? Those are my 3 major concerns.
I worked for FedEx Ground for one summer, many summers ago. And when people asked me what I did, I said, "Oh, I go throw boxes at FedEx every morning." And it's we definitely stress tested our fair share of packages.
That is pretty awesome. Well, it's about that time, Justin.
It is exactly that time. Tell me, Nick, what do you got coming up on your channel next?
It'll be a surprise.
In other words, you don't know yet.
No, I do know. I do know what I'm getting out, but because of the holidays, things have been just pushed back and back and back. And I don't want to say what I'm getting out because I don't want them not to get out. But I do have some head units that are definitely getting out this week, assuming the videos go well and shoots reshoot. See, part of the reason we talked about some of the things we got on Black Friday, one of the things I got for the business on Black Friday was a new camera. And with that new camera came the learning curve. And there is a learning curve when you get a new camera, along with new lenses and everything else that come with it. So I got the Canon R8, so I can start shooting in 4K, which is pretty cool. But some of that was also at the expense of being able to get some videos out. So I'm going to get those head unit videos out this week, assuming everything goes well with the video and things of that nature. And also get a video out on this remote control I've been talking about for a while. If I have enough time, which I highly doubt I will, I'm going to try to put out that build video of that boombox, which I think would be pretty cool too. Quad City DJs. They're going to
Whenever
ride
they say
that
it's
train.
about that time, I think about that song. And here's what's funny.
No, yeah.
I do the exact same thing. I'm over here in my mind going, the song is playing in my head from back when I was young and still had hair.
You want to ride this train. Yeah, we know.
Don't sing it too much. We'll get a copyright strike.
I don't think I'm going to, I'm going to be honest. I don't think anyone's going to ever think that I am him or them.
Thank you for I'll follow up with you, Adrian. I will try to get back to you. I get overwhelmed with messages sometimes, and so I'll try to follow up with you as soon as I can. So I just dropped a video where I kind of did a demonstration of how if you don't have enough power, you can't test an amp, and really you need power to make power. That was kind of the point of the video. I was trying to find an entertaining way to make that point, and I think that I did, because I'm getting some good response from the video. And I'm going to follow it up with an amp dyno. What do you think? What do you think this is? Well, okay. Here's an amp dyno, and I'm not an amp expert. How much power do you think an amp like this can make?
Not much.
Well, the claim is that it makes an absurdly large amount of power. And the price on Amazon is ridiculously low for the amount of power they claim it can make. And so I was curious, and I was a little worried about it because it got in. I was like, oh man, this thing's huge and it's heavy and it might actually do those big numbers. So we'll find out if my test bench failed, or if the amp didn't make anywhere near its rated power, or maybe both.
It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't look very promising to me, but you know what?
Tell me why you say that.
Because it doesn't look very promising. I mean, you could just.
Well, it's a different amp.
Yeah, I was like,
that's a whole different amp right there.
I'm like, that one looks
that's
more
a different
promising.
amp. Okay. Yeah, that's a different amp. That one will do.
I was like, that one looks pretty good. I mean, you could.
So this is the one you're saying seems a little.
Look at all the little capacitors that are on there. Putting so many of these tiny capacitors, even the windings. I just don't. I don't see it. I could be wrong.
So you're looking at it going, this wasn't built well.
I mean, everything that looks pretty cheesy. I want to see that thing packed. I mean, full of stuff. And it doesn't look good. Look, I can't read the numbers on anything, but it does not look very important. Yeah, what's the voltage cap rating of these power caps? They look small. So someone said 3K, someone else said 1K. I don't know what it says it's going to do, but I know that whatever it says it's going to do, I don't believe it's going to do, because you said it was an absurdly large number. I think it's going to do significantly less than whatever that large number was.
It's the kind of thing where if it does anywhere near what it claims to do, it's going to be it is the deal of the century. And my patrons already know, because that video is up. So Baba and Bobby, y'all can just check Patreon and you should know the answer already.
They're like, crap, I haven't looked. Oh, one thing I do want to say before we go is, if you guys get a chance and you want to join my Patreon, feel free to. What we started doing is once a month, I do a live Zoom, and it might be more than once a month occasionally, but at least once a month, we do a live Zoom meeting where we just get out and talk everything. We can talk audio. You can ask questions. It's just an informal setting where we all get together and hang out. We did our first one this past week, and it was awesome. Everyone had a great time. We talked everything from speakers to questions that people had about them, to football, to all kinds of different things, some of our favorite test tracks, all kinds of different stuff that we talked about. It was just really, really fun. So if you guys want to do that, definitely take a look at the Patreon. It's for my $10 and $15 patrons that we do once a month. And it's just fun. I would love to hang out with you guys.
One last thing that I want to point out before we wrap up the show. I recently turned on the channel memberships feature. So if anybody would like to become a channel member, my only level is $2, $1.99. It's twice what Andy charges. So, because I figure I'm worth twice what Andy is. So I'm high dollar over here, Andy. I'm $2. Wow.
Andy, I don't believe it.
No, I'm just messing with you, Andy. You know that. But for $2, you can join a channel member. You can get those cool emojis and stuff like that, access to that kind of thing. But other than that, I think I am done. I think we've answered a lot of questions tonight, and hopefully,
you just got a new member.
Hey, we got a new member. I have 3 channel members now. I'm up to 3. Yeah,
that's awesome, dude.
Everything's turning up, Justin. By golly, this is the year of Justin. Yeah, thank you, Baba. Great.
Thanks, guys, again, man. We really enjoy hanging out with you guys. We enjoyed this, and obviously, if you guys have questions next time, make sure to do it. Oh yeah, Dan Russell said the Zoom meeting had Bears, Lions, and Packers fans, and it was actually yeah, oh my, it was pretty cool. All right, guys, we will talk to you later, man.
Bye.